different subjects, whether you're a keen reader or whether you're looking to get into writing yourself or improve your writing. And we thought we'd talk about the art of romantic writing today. Now, you've only got to look at the sheer number of romantic movies, TV shows, books, to know we love a little bit of boy meets girl or boy meets boy or girl meets girl or whatever permutation there are, and really just see what develops as a result of it. We cannot get enough of it. But how do you successfully master the art of the romantic novel? Well, I'm joined in the studio by Dominic Wong, who's the director of the Romance Writing Festival. That's happening later in the year in Bournemouth. Also local author Nikki, who writes very successful romantic novels and appearing at the festival. Hello to you both. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming in. Now, Dom, tell me a little bit more about this particular festival, because you've got two coming up. This is the first romantic writing one, but the Bournemouth Festival of Writing, that starts earlier, doesn't it? That's next month.
That's right. The Bournemouth Writing Festival, which is going into its third year, is on the 25th to the 27th of April, so just a few weeks away, and that is 100 different free and ticketed writing events and activities for all genres of writing, and we do lots of stuff in the community. There's lots of free stuff for children and a poetry hub, etc. But the Romance Writing Festival is coming in October, and we're delighted that a huge number of Sunday Times bestselling authors, award-winning authors, and including Nikki here, will be coming along and really celebrating the craft of writing romance novels.
Which we'll get on to in just a moment, but clearly from the fact that you're in your third year now for the Writing Festival for next month, and you've developed now into the romantic writing, there's a real niche for this then. People are really interested in it.
And I think this area is particularly ripe for the creativity that we have in this area. You know, we've got amazing universities, we've got the history of literary figures that lived or worked in this area. This year is the 175th anniversary of the birth of Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote Jekyll and Hyde in Westbourne.
Is it really? Wow.
Mary Shelley's buried in St Peter's Church in Bournemouth. So kind of using that as foundation, plus universities, plus all the creative people that we have in the area, it just makes sense to have this here, and so much inspiration with the beach and the forest and everything else around it.
It's interesting you said that, because I've spoken to so many authors that have, might not even be local, but come to this part of the world to write just because they find that area and the landscape so inspirational. So I'm glad you said that. You write romantic thrillers, don't you?
My first book was a romantic thriller, that's right, yes.
Okay, and what is it? Describe a romantic thriller.
So it's a boy meets girl kind of scenario, but there's a little bit of an edge to it, and I like writing books. Well, I'm not going to give away the ending, but but yeah. So it's kind of little bit of an edge. So it's not a Mills and Boons type, totally romance. But yeah. So and I like writing books with a twist. So.
Yeah, I love that idea though, the romantic, because I love thrillers and I love romance novels. So combining the two is excellent. So Nikki, how did you start getting into romance? And is that all you've written, romance?
Primarily, yes. Okay. I had a little bit of a long journey to publication. I initially wrote my very first romance when I was 21, so I was just a baby. Looking back on it, I just think, what was I thinking? However, to pick up on Dom's point, that was category romance. It was Mills and Boon. It got as far as an acquisitions meeting, and then didn't get offered, which I now know, as someone starting out at the time, that was actually a huge achievement in itself. It's kind of top couple percent of people that get.
Pretty impressive at that age as well.
Yeah. So I didn't get offered on that book. I did get an offer on my second book, but I turned it down because I wasn't comfortable with the terms. I've always been really authentic as a person, as an author as well.
Good on you.
So it's important to me to think about what am I comfortable with, or what's the space I want to be in. Long story short, I put my writing career down for quite a few years, grew a career in HR, did some qualifications, life things, marriage, kids, all that kind of thing. I came back to trying to write seriously in 2010 following a long illness. That really gave me the motivation and inspiration to say, you've always wanted to get published, you want to write, you love reading, just get on and do it basically. So I started entering short story competitions in 2010. I wanted to know if I had any talent, needed to build a bit of confidence. So romance has always been the thing that I'd say 95% of what I've written is romance. So I was very lucky to be, I'm a member of the Romantic Novelists Association, some of whose authors are going to be at the Romance Writing Festival in October. I went through their probation membership scheme, had some critiques back on manuscripts, and got offered my first book deal by One More Chapter, who are an imprint of HarperCollins.
Yes.
So I've been published for the last 11 years now.
Oh my goodness.
I write under 2 pen names, Nikki Moore and Ella Allbright, and the last book, the Ella Allbright one, is set in Dorset because, as Dom says, Bournemouth and Dorset, there's such a rich history of literature, and it's also so stunning.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful place. So yeah, for me it's always been romance. I just think nothing beats a good love story. Saying that, I read widely, and I have got half thriller written. I don't know if I've told them about that.
Oh, okay.
But romance is an interesting genre. There are many subgenres. It's really having its moment.
Okay.
Some of the stats coming out. I don't know if you want me to talk about that, but I was really delighted. I've been to the main Bournemouth Writing Festival the last 2 years. I've got tickets to go along next month. Really looking forward to it. And Dom and I did a podcast in the autumn, and when he told me that he was going to do a romance writing festival, I was so delighted.
Yeah.
Because it is a genre that sometimes there's been some snobbery around.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And like you say, Lou, a lot of people like a good love story, whether that's reading a romance novel, whether it's watching a rom-com, whether it's, we're even seeing a resurgence in TV shows at the moment.
Yes.
We
all feel a bit guilty about doing it, don't we?
Yeah.
We sort of think, oh no, I can't show anyone that I'm reading that because they'll think I'm not very intelligent or something like that. But you're right, and it's the same techniques, and ultimately, I think it's even harder, I would imagine, to get published in that genre because there's a lot of competition. Stay there, let's chat more in just a moment. Dom and Nikki are my guests in the studio as we talk romance novels and the Romance Writing Festival that's happening later this year in Bournemouth. We'll chat more after the Steve Miller Band here on BBC Radio Solent. On BBC Radio Solent, 26 minutes past 12. Guests in the studio for the Wednesday Book Club today. We've got Dominic Wong, director of the Romance Writing Festival that's happening later this year in Bournemouth. Also, if you want to get writing a little bit sooner than that, there's one going on next month in Bournemouth, which he's also responsible for. We'll give you all the dates in just a second. Local author Nikki Moore as well, who has some very successful romantic novels under her belt, using 2 different pen names. So Nikki Moore, what was the other one?
Ella Allbright.
Why do you write under 2 different names?
Slightly different genres.
Oh, okay.
So Nikki Moore is more kind of lighter end of the market rom-com, whereas the Ella Allbright book it's more commercial women's fiction, so slightly different genre. It was something that myself and my publisher kind of talked through, whether we choose a different pen name, and in the end we were like, let's go with it.
How did you come up with a pen name?
I was literally about to say, Lou, that I actually felt at times that coming up with a different pen name was almost harder than writing the book. It was impossible. One thing I was very strategic about. I remember someone saying to me that when people go into bookshops, they're looking at the shelves for fiction, if you pick something at the beginning of the alphabet. So I was like, right, the surname has to start with an A. And then it was working it was working outwards, thinking what sounds right with it. And actually, I couldn't think of any first name to use. And it's actually one of my really good friends. Her daughter was called Ella. And I kind of sidled up to her and said, can I use your daughter's name for my pen name? And luckily, she was very supportive. Yeah. It was pretty hard to, and what we're seeing actually is people keeping their pen name through their career and writing under lots of different genres. I think it's easier to do that if you're a big hitter already.
Yes, yeah.
People will follow you. Some readers find it confusing if you have one pen name but many genres. I think you've got to do what feels right for you in the market and take the advice from your publisher, your agent, whatever that might be.
They're the experts, aren't they?
Yeah.
So come on then, what is the secret to writing romance?
Wow, I mean that could be a non-fiction book in itself. There's so much we could dig into, but we haven't got time for that much detail. What I would say is you've got to be passionate about the genre, I think, to write authentically in it. I think that's something that will really come out in the Romance Writing Festival. I see this as being a festival that's pitched towards people that are already published authors or they're aspiring writers. The key for romance, really, whether it's a subgenre around, is it historical, is it cosy, is it speculative, is the reader expectation of happy ever after, or at least happy for now. You've got to build some really compelling characters that readers want to stay with and spend time with, and you've got to create a conflict. There has to be internal and external conflict, because you've got to take the reader on this journey with 2 people that are going to fall in love. So I think you have to learn your craft, you have to read widely in your genre, you've got to love it, you've got to be willing to put in the time. Writing a book is no easy feat.
Yes.
It takes discipline, it takes drive, spending many hours on your own in a room, talking to yourself normally.
Well, tell me about it. When it gets to the point though that you're at, when you've got multiple books under your belt, and you then have deadlines, and it becomes a full-time job, is it still a passion? Because it's your job, and you've got to meet deadlines, and if you go, I don't really fancy writing today, or I'm not quite sure where to go to this character, you've still got to do it.
I mean, I haven't personally experienced that. I work full-time. I do a compressed pattern so that I can have a day a week to write. I also try and write over weekends, but I'm, different writing organisations. I know many authors that do it full-time. And yes, there is that balance, I think, between it's become a job and it's to make money to pay my bills, and the love of writing. And I do think that some authors will struggle with that, and I think it's very much a bit like the publishing industry in general. It's a bit of a roller coaster. But Dom and I were having a conversation earlier, which was, if I never got anything published ever again, would I still write? And the answer is yes, because there is a joy in writing, in the same way as there's a joy in being a reader and escaping into a book.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Dom, let's just recap then the two festivals, because we've talked a lot about romance, which is the big new event for you this year. But for people that are just interested in writing, tell us just a little bit more about the Writing Festival next month. So this is the 25th to the 27th of April.
So we've got over 100 writing events and activities happening all in lots of different locations within Bournemouth Town Centre, and they're all designed to inspire writers to write. So it doesn't matter if you're a complete beginner or if you're halfway through or towards the end and trying to get your words out into the world. We've got talks, panels, we've got one-to-ones with literary agents, we have a literary walk of Bournemouth, we have a free poetry hub in the bandstand in the Lower Gardens, we have genre breakfasts and lots of networking events. So as Nikki said, that writing can be quite a lonely business, and that what we love about the festival is that a community has come out of it. So don't just sit there on your own in front of your laptop, come and meet other writers, discuss your challenges, your successes, and just know that there's other people out there doing the same thing as you.
Brilliant. Thank you both so much. Good luck with it then. So the Bournemouth Writing Festival, that is going on locations all around Bournemouth from the 25th to the 27th of April. You can find out more at bournemouthwritingfestival.co.uk. And then if you're interested in the Romance Writing Festival, that's happening at the Royal Bath Hotel in Bournemouth, and it's on the 18th of October. More information online at romancewritingfestival.co.uk. Dominic Wong, their director of those festivals, and local author Nikki Moore as well.